welcome back to my channel Z. Today we'll be continuing Diary of a Wimpy Kid Hot Mess by Jeff Kinney. If you haven't seen all the other parts, I would go watch them. And let's go ahead and get started. Next we play a game where one person is given a secret word and they have to get their team members to guess it before the time is up. The trick is that there are a bunch of other words on the card that the player is not allowed to say, and if they do, someone on the other team has to buzz them. It's a metal box where you put stuff you eat to keep it chilly. Buzz. Rats. Secret word. Refrigerator. Cold, kitchen, ice, food, appliance, storage, door, fresh, chilly. Things fell apart and people started using the buzzer for stuff that didn't have anything to do with the game, and when Aunt Kiki brought up the boyfriend Mom stole from her when they were teenagers, Mom used the buzzer to cut her off. You think she just let me have him, but no. Buzz, buzz, buzz. I was glad Mom interrupted Aunt Kiki, because the truth is that no kid really wants to hear about the people their parents used to date. Mom pulled out another board game to keep things moving, and it was one I'd never seen before. The box was falling apart, and she was ready to put it away and reach for another game. But Dad was aside because it was a game he used to play with his family. Boardwalk Baron. It was called Boardwalk Baron, and Dad explained that the goal was to buy up properties and bankrupt all the other players. Everybody seemed eager to give it a try except for Mom, who said a game like that taught people how to be greedy. So Mom pulled out a different game where one player reads cards with interesting facts about marine animals. Luckily, we still had the buzzer from the other game, and Roderick wasn't shy about using it. Did you know that a blue whale's tongue weighs as much as an elephant? Buzz! Everyone thought we should give Boardwalk Baron a try instead, but I guess Mom was pretty annoyed that she got overruled, so she said she was just going to read in her room and then go to bed. The rest of us opened up the box and got all the pieces, and we ran into a problem right away. There weren't enough game tokens, and everybody started grabbing ones from themselves. Uncle Gary managed to snap the cowboy hat, but I guess Manny really had his heart set on that one, so Manny swiped it and climbed up on top of the kitchen cabinet until Uncle Gary finally agreed to just let him have it. Malcolm and Malvin both wanted to be the wagon, so they decided to play as one team. I wasn't quick enough to get an official playing token, so I had to use a dirty coin from Aunt Gretchen's purse. But anything was better than Uncle Gary's playing piece, which was a quarter of a meatball that someone found under the kitchen table. Once everyone had their playing pieces sorted out, it was time to learn the rules. But you practically had to have a college degree to understand the ins and outs of the game, so I figured I'd pick it up once we actually started to play. If a player was a 9, but the product of the two dice is less than the number of hotels they have on their most expensive property, then the player must move back the number of spaces matching the sum of the two dice. Everyone understood the basic idea, which was that the person who had all the properties at the end of the game was the winner, and they got named the Boardwalk Baron. But everybody agreed that there should be some sort of penalty for losing, so we started coming up with different ideas for punishments for the first person to go bankrupt. Roderick thought the loser should have to shave their eyebrows, but most of us thought that was too extreme. Uncle Gary said the loser should have to eat a gallon of mayonnaise, but that seemed kind of unsafe. Then Aunt Kiki came up with an idea. She said that the loser would have to go out on the boardwalk the next day and sing until people passing by put $20 in their hat. Everyone thought that was a great punishment for being the first one to get knocked out of the game because no one wanted to have to sing in public. The only problem that it made the game way too competitive because once we started playing, everyone argued over every little thing. On Aunt Gretchen's first roll of the game, one die landed on the table and one landed on the floor, and that turned into a heated debate about whether or not her roll counted. We finally agreed that both dice had to be on the table for a roll to count. Then on the very next turn, one of Roderick's dice landed on the edge of the table, and we waited 20 minutes to make sure it didn't fall on the floor. If you rolled double sixes, you landed in jail and had to sit out for 2 whole turns, but everybody felt like the punishment for landing in jail should be more serious than that. So we turned the portable crib into a jail, and Aunt Veronica was the first one to land there. The game was taking forever, and everybody was getting pretty tired. Aunt Audra said she wanted to forfeit so she could go to bed, and we could split up her money and properties. But everyone agreed that quitting was the same as going bankrupt, and I guess she really didn't want to have to sing on the boardwalk, so she made herself some coffee and powered through. The twins were struggling too, but they kept themselves in the game by taking turns napping. Only person who was wide awake was Manny, and that's because he was winning somehow. He had bought a whole row of properties without people noticing, and he was loading them up with hotels. After a while, Manny had so many hotels on his properties that if someone landed on one, it would be game over for them. So he started charging people money to let them pass through his territory safely, and his fee wasn't cheap. Eventually, everyone was almost out of money, and no one could afford what Manny was charging for safe passage anymore, so people started offering to go to jail just so they could sit out a few turns and not risk landing on one of Manny's properties. And before long, it was too crowded to fit anyone else in the crib. The person who least wanted to sing on the boardwalk the least was Dad. So he tried to strike a deal with Manny. He promised he'd get him a bike for his birthday if he could pass through his property safely next round, but Manny was holding out for the cash up front. Dad didn't have any cash on him, so he had no choice but to roll the dice, and when he did, he landed on a property where Manny had the most hotels, which meant Dad was toast. Hooray! I guess we were being a little too loud because Mom came out of the bedroom and she didn't look happy about being woken up. With Dad out of the game, the rest of us started trying to figure out a good punishment for the second place loser. We decided it would be pretty funny and this person who went bankrupt next had to dump a milkshake on their own head. We hadn't decided the milkshake should be chocolate or strawberry, so I asked Mom to settle it for us, but she decided we'd had enough fun for one night and announced that our game was officially over. Even though Mom didn't seem to enjoy herself on the game night, the rest of us did, so next morning we asked her what she had in store for us next. But I guess Mom needed a break from making plans for the family. She said everybody was on their own today. I was pretty excited to have a day to myself, but I wasn't sure what to do. There was no chance I was going to the beach, so I decided I'd explore the town on my own. But I was a little nervous about getting lost, since I didn't really know my way around. Mom told me she was going to stay back at the house and that I could take her phone as long as I was careful with it. I knew it was a big deal for Mom to trust me with her phone, so I promised I wouldn't let anything happen to it. It was a really hot and sticky day, so walking outside was like stepping into a sauna. So by the time I got to the boardwalk, my clothes were already soaked with sweat. It was too hot to stay outdoors, and I honestly was looking for a way to avoid Dad anyway. On top of spaghetti, all covered with cheese. I went into a few stores that had air conditioning, but it was pretty obvious that the employees who work at these places don't like it when people come inside just to cool down, and even though I pretended to be shopping, they weren't buying it. Does this top have a matching bottom? I tried to find some place cool where I didn't need to spend money, and I knew I found my spot when I stumbled across a library in the center of town. I was a little nervous that people who worked there might ask me to leave, so I sat in the author's book attack. I made sure everyone knew I was paying attention. I wish I'd remembered to put Mom's phone on silent mode though, because it started dinging nonstop while the author was speaking, so I had to duck out in the hallway to see why I was getting so many alerts. I was a little worried that there was some kind of emergency and people were trying to reach me, but it was just my aunt sending tests to the family group chat. Could someone get me a nice coffee if you're out and about? You never paid me back for the one I got you last time. That was 2 years ago, Gretchen. I always wondered what kind of things the grandmas and my family talk about on that thread. When I started scrolling through the old messages, I could see it was a bunch of nonsense. Does anyone know how to get a french fry out of the space next to your car seat? Wait, were you eating fast food in your car? Yes, Susan, please don't judge me. But your doctor said you need to start eating healthier. I don't think a few french fries are going to kill me. Maybe you should leave the one you dropped. Okay. Every so often, someone would post something serious like a medical question. I really wish I hadn't gone looking for those old tests because I saw some stuff in there and I'd sure like to scrap from my brain. There's a mole on my back of my ankle is changing. I would have that checked out if I were you. But mostly the group But mostly the family group chat was just corny jokes and other stuff grown-ups mostly find funny. I feel bad for Vincent because he's always asking to be added to the group chat, but he's not allowed since he's not a member of the family. Now that I've actually seen stuff people are posting, though, I can promise him he's not missing out on anything. One day here, don't care. Haha, can I see? Sorry, family only. Besides, once you get on the family group chat, you can never get off. No one named Veronica broke up a couple of years ago, but he's still part of the family thread. And I'm pretty sure the only reason he's still on is because nobody can figure out how to remove him. Okay, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call that there. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Diary of a Wimpy Kid Hot Mess. And come back in a few days. Bye!